Hello, and I would like today to present the two new products at Danfoss safety valve SFA10, coming together with a DSV changeover valve, products which are designed according to industrial standards. It's applicable for capacities which is medium, low charge industrial systems, but also CO2 transcritical small to medium sized systems. With the industrial design that we are introducing here, we are addressing some of the most common issues in the CO2 transcritical systems with leaks, with sudden reliefs and lost charges, something that annoys everyone in the industry, I think. It's applicable for your suction accumulators. It's applicable for LT, MT suction lines, but also LT discharge lines. Up to a certain capacity, of course, you can calculate that with the use of our Cool Selector 2 calculation software. At least when it's introduced to the market by the end of the year. Safety valves are subject to inspection every 1 to 6 years. It really depends on where you are in the world, but every 1 to 6 years it's required that you actually access the valve, that you do an inspection and also a pressure verification of the set pressure. Of course, you can also decide to replace it, scrap it, and also to repair it. It's not widely in CO2 transcritical systems to actually keep the products alive, but with this valve we are introducing the possibility to actually repair and keep the product alive rather than throwing it away. To make that safe as required in the EN 378, we are introducing also the DSV changeover valve, where you have the possibility to mount 2 SFAs, and you can then switch the port here, close one, open another, making sure that you always have one safety valve in operation while you can service or replace or whatever on the other one. To make that even more safe, we also have made sure that you know in which direction to turn the spindle once you want to open, for instance, or shut port B. You would have to turn it clockwise and opposite. But let's look a bit into the product and see what it means in terms of industrial, reliable and durable design. There's a number of critical components inside, which basically defines the function of the valve. First of all, you have the spring. The spring is the one applying the pressure to the seat or through the cone, ensuring you have the exact right opening pressure. This we have made in a slightly bigger size compared to the competitors you have in CO2 systems. You can also see it that the bonnet is slightly bigger compared to competition. And the main reason for that is that we don't want to stress the springs, because with the more stress you have, the more relaxation you also have on the springs. And with relaxation you actually have a set pressure which is dropping over time, and we don't like that. We want the set pressure to be steady at least until you have the next service or inspection. Secondly, you want the valve to be tight. Many other brands are using different kind of sealing methods. It can be flat sealing, it can be hard Teflon, etc. Our experience is with safety valves that these have to be, that the O-ring give you the best solution. The O-ring is by far, due to the elasticity of the product, the best material in order to compensate, small differences on the cone or the seat of the valve. In addition, in our design, we are also sealing, difficult to see here, but we are sealing on the top and the inside of the seat. And let's say we have the higher pressure coming in here on the downside here, or the upstream side. That pressure is actually helping us to keep the O-ring in good shape, because we are sealing against the inside of the seat and keeping the O-ring in the right shape rather than trying to make it into a very strange shape and even popping it out. That actually helps us to keep the valve tight and also in place. We don't pop the O-ring out, and because with that you would definitely have a sudden relief. Finally, you want to have a perfect reseating once you have the product relieving, which is quite common in CO2 systems due to the nature of CO2 and standstill. You want a perfect reseating. Again, the O-ring here will help us a lot, because you can have a little impurity coming from the system, and the product is actually capable of taking, at least to some extent, these particles and still ensure a tight seating. Making a safety valve is basically not that difficult. Making one prototype that works is not difficult. What matters to you as a customer, that is definitely that you have a manufacturer who can manufacture one valve after another, and still they are performing as specified. That requires you have a very good quality assurance in your production. In our design, we know exactly how our tolerances should be, so that we ensure that we are always within the tolerances in our operation. And this we have told and shared, of course, to our suppliers, that they have to fulfill and supply parts with a very narrow tolerance and what is called a high CPK value. If you want, you can also have the product certified by TÜV, not only the product design, but also that the set pressure or pressure setting of the valve is actually done correctly and is verified by TÜV. At the same time, they also check that all the materials are actually fulfilling the requirements to a pressure-bearing product. So, how can we make a difficult or product that is, quite sensible, easy to service? How can we do that? Well, the concept is that we introduce this as our service part. This is what we have pre-assembled for you. We have made sure that this O-ring is actually fitting 100% and is in the correct place. And the only thing you have to do would be to assemble the product like I'm doing now. Into the valve. Mount the seats with sufficient torque, of course. And then you can do your adjustment of your spring. Make sure that it's to the right set pressure. But this has to be done by an accredited service provider that can ensure and measure that it is the exact correct set pressure. So, but he will also be the person who is actually verifying the set pressure, so can also, of course, set the pressure, make the right pressure setting when you have replaced the cone and the O-ring. So, all in all, we are talking about a reliable product. You don't have to replace one valve after another, even more frequent than required, because you kind of have lost confidence in the product. This product is reliable until the next inspection is due. It's, as you saw before, also repairable, and by that we are introducing definitely a sustainable solution. And as our captain here on the background is saying, The SFA-10 will sail for years without losing its course. And I hope now that you understand a little what we are referring to when we are phrasing things like this. So that is design according to industrial standards. The product is available for sales with pressure setting up to 65 bar around November 2020 this year, so in very short time. You can buy the products, singled. It means that you can buy it as separate code numbers, but we also introducing an attractive code number where you can purchase one changeover valve together with 2 safety valves in one code number.